I know my chance with her is blown, well, my mouth gets carried away. I'm tongue-tied, 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 I get tongue-tied.
What up, IDS Mob? It's your boy HarryWilmington here, and today we're going to be answering the question, is the red pill the way to go to successfully date women? Now, for purposes of the YouTube algorithm, I'll be calling it the RP community from this point forward, all right? But somebody left a comment on my channel, on one of the videos that I did, and he said, I used to think that the RP community was the way to go. But after watching your videos, I realized that most men just don't know how to handle situations they are put in. And so I kind of wanted to address this because one could argue that given the, the fact that I'm giving dating advice to men, people will assume like, well, that must mean you're in the RP community and that you give out that kind of advice. And I would, if I'm being honest, say that my stuff is really like a mixture of that and just like real world, based on my own experience, dating advice. So for those of you that aren't initiated, the RP community came about. It basically is based on the Matrix, the whole idea of like the red pill versus the blue pill. And in that movie, the blue pill was like, you take this pill, you go back to your regular everyday where, you live in the world, in the bubble based on what you already know about what your perceived reality is. And then you take this red pill and you get to really know how things actually work and what's really going on in the world, all right? So the RP community arose because it was the idea that men for the longest time haven't really known how dating actually works and what things that women actually find attractive, and that there's a way to now learn these things and understand that everything you thought about that you thought you knew about dating is actually a lie. The things you thought should attract women don't attract women. The things that you thought should get them to be more interested in you don't. And my first book, No Girls For You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams, which has a soundtrack coming out on February 10th, it was partially based on my experience of that, where I sat down with myself and I realized, you know what? I've been doing all these things to try to attract women, and I had started learning over that past year or so that all those things weren't working. And then I was learning these new ways to talk to women, to interact with women, to be around women that ideally would get me the results that I wanted. And I tried them and it worked. I was able to get more women attracted to me. I was able to lose my virginity finally at the age of 23. And it really was. And what I realized was that, it wasn't necessarily about like, I learned about, techniques and strategy and stuff like that, but it really boiled down to like, can you show up as your authentic self in a way that's not going to make you anxious or have you second guess how people are going to react to that? Because really, a big problem most guys have dating, if they're being honest with themselves, is they fear that who they are isn't going to be enough to keep a woman around. So they're trying to find ways to circumvent that and get the facade that they are the totally cool guy that they want women to see them as in order to be able to keep them. But the problem is, if that's not based in authenticity, then it might work for the first couple of months, but in the long term, it's not going to work because you're going to revert back to those old behaviors that you got when you were, quote unquote, in the blue pill community. And so I think early on, the RP community was, in a sense, a great way for guys to get a better understanding of the ways in which women actually view dating and how they come about deciding who they're attracted to or not, or even just, not even deciding, but like why it is that they feel one way towards one type of guy versus another type of guy. And I think it really is important for guys to know that and have that knowledge, because how you show up really does affect if women find you attractive. Much in the same way that, a woman, guys say like, oh, I don't need a woman with makeup on, but realistically, there are some women that if they put on a little bit of light makeup, it's going to look better than if they just show up as their, standard selves, but, they got like all these baggy eyes and blacks under the eyes and their face is kind of sagging, whatever like that. And it's important just to know how the other sex is viewing you so you can get a better idea of what's going to be most effective. Now, some guys will hear that and think, well, does that mean I have to be my inauthentic self? And to that I say that as you get older and develop and you start to have new interests, you start to realize that there are some things that in the way you are that don't serve you, and that it's good to know the things that don't serve you and the things that you can add to your repertoire in an authentic way that's going to be a more effective way to be around women. Because we could say, well, you should just show up as your regular self as it is now. But if your regular self is like regularly, for example, cursing out at waiters or, pushing people around, well, you could show up that way in a relationship, but is that going to serve you? The answer is no. So on that end of things, I think that the RP community has actually been very, very helpful. But what's happened in the last few years is it's gone from, hey, let's tell guys the way that women actually need for you to be and need for you to show up to date, to, well, women are just crazy and the way that they view attraction is so stupid and they fall for all these alpha guys and chads and stuff like that, and they only want the top 10% high interest guy who makes $100,000 a year and has a six pack and 6 abs and 6 feet and all this other stuff, and they just don't know what they want and they're crazy. And in the process, that's what we call the toxic part of the RP community, where they're not taking into account that, like, there are actually logical reasons, scientifically, biologically, why women more often than not have the choices that they want in terms of the guys they're looking after. They put that all to the wayside and say, well, all women are like this and therefore they all suck and whatever. But the sad part is those same guys will complain about women and then still try to get them. And my thought was always, you can't do both things. Like, you can't be saying all women suck and then try to get women, because your view of the world is now all women suck. So when you try to go after one and it doesn't work out, then all you're doing is getting the results that you were looking for in the first place. Like, yeah, see, this is proof that all women suck, and this is why I don't really like dating these women, these 304s and blah, blah, blah. And my question is, how does that help you? Like, how does spewing out toxic things about women help you to find a woman? And I've had people in my comments before say, like, well, because I talk about having an abundant mindset, about you as a guy being more indifferent to outcomes. And this is what this guy talks about, where he said a thing about, hold on a second, pull it up, where he said, he realized that most men just don't know how to handle situations they're put in. And exactly. And so, there was a point where I had to go through my RPing process. So they call it like RP rage, where you suddenly realize, like, all these years you've wasted doing all this stuff that wasn't working, and you figure out why it wasn't working. And then part of you for a little bit gets, like, just mad at women for just being the way they are. But you have to bypass that, because there are plenty of ways that men are that I'm sure women are like, why doesn't he just say the thing or talk about his emotions or blah, blah, blah? Like, it's so easy. It's so easy for them to do. And then we want them to understand that it's not, but then we don't want to understand why they want what they want and why they're operating the way that they operate. And it does come down to men ultimately at times don't really know how to handle when women throw certain things at them. What do you do when a woman's throwing a tantrum? What do you do when she says that you're not doing enough to be open emotionally? Or what do you do when she starts to suddenly back away a little bit and you're not aware of what you're doing? And it's true. Most men don't know how to show up when those things happen. So rather than try to figure it out, they just say, well, women are crazy and they don't know what they want, and they don't really want good guys. And I've dated women who actually, like, wanted nice guys and who were great and who could treat me well. And it's like, but my lens of the world was always, ultimately, it's not all their fault. Like, I could say, oh, this one woman was tripping and she broke up with me. If I've dated 10 women and all 10, like, stopped seeing me, it's got to be me at some point. It has to be something that I've done, and no amount of RP rage is going to make the reality change that I also needed to change a little bit, and for the better, and change in ways that would actually be beneficial to me, and then I could add to my authentic self. And I think the other thing too is that for a lot of guys in the RP community, the idea of them having to change themselves in order to get women is like a sucker idea. Like, you're going to be a simp, people aren't going to like you, and it's going to be a thing that you feel like you're a fake person. But you got to think about, like, if that were so true, then how you acted at the age of 5 should be the same way you're acting now in your 20s and 30s and 40s, right? Because at the age of 5, you were being your authentic self, right? So why not just continue to be that same self throughout? But that doesn't happen, right? You evolve, you learn things, you get around more people that open you up to new ideas and new ways of being, that you can decide of your own accord if that's the way that something you want to add to your life, or if that's not going to serve you. And I think a lot of people in the RP community, they don't understand that you making positive changes to yourself for the betterment of you and a potential partner for a relationship is totally fine, because you can't be the way you are as your single self when you're with somebody. You have to make more choices that aren't just about you. You have to spend time with that person, oftentimes at times when you'd rather be doing other things. You have to do things to constantly work on and nourish the relationship. And those aren't things you're going to authentically be when you're a single person. So to say, like, you don't have anything to change about yourself, or that you shouldn't and women should just accept you as you are, well, that would be like you getting with a woman and saying you're going to accept her as she is, but, she also is like, well, I don't cook, I don't clean, I don't want to, keep my weight off. You'd be like, you need to work on that, because if you don't, I'm going to be out of here. So I just try to hold women to that same standard of like, look, we're all learning, we're all figuring out each other. And so like for me, I want to get with a woman that's willing to learn the things that I like and to understand that like I think about things differently and not hold that against me. But yeah, but I'm not gonna be mad at her, be like, well, she's just female nature this, and I think blah, 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 because that's not really fair to them. You're trying to find a feminine woman and then tell her to think like a dude, or tell her to act like a dude, or be mad because, women oftentimes in their own world conversate and communicate in a passive aggressive way, and now you want her to be direct like a man, but you want a feminine woman. You're not going to get both. I mean, it might improve over time, but like her general default setting, if she's feminine, is to act in these certain ways, and you're getting mad at her for acting those ways. But then if she does communicate the way you want her to and whatever, she's acting like a dude, and you don't want her either. So that's why I have a problem with the RP community, is that I think there are positive angles of it. The parts where they talk about, betterment for yourself and how to improve yourself and how to go after money and go after your goals and work out and, the kind of fun ways to interact with women when you first meet them. Even like, the pickup community got, a lot of backlash years ago because it's like, oh, it's manipulating women, blah, blah. But all the pickup community was doing was saying, hey, you're too much in your head and women want to have fun when you first meet them. Here's how to do that. So not to say there's not negatives to the pickup community also, but the point is that dating is supposed to be fun. And I think a lot of times the RP community takes every single subject about dating way too seriously, which makes it less fun for women, which makes them not want to show up, which only causes RP people to get more angry. And that's not fair to women, or not even fair to you if you're trying to actually change yourself or be the kind of guy that women want, So all that to say, you have to really be careful of who you're following in the RP community, because there are some content creators that are doing a really great job at just trying to say, hey, you know what? We're all trying to do our best. But if you want to, get in a relationship and keep a good woman, these are the things that you need to look out for. These are the things that you thought you should have been doing, but here's why they don't work. And here's a better way to show up, be nice, get the same results that you're wanting, but in a way that's not toxic. And then, go about your merry way. You have to be mindful between those kind of people and the people that are just like, the ones that are like, yeah, these 304s this, and, these women are just blah, 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 blah. Why are they going to insult women and then try to help you get them? Or they're going to try to help you get them in a negative way. Like, yeah, they're all 304s out there. So you know what? You just got to talk like this and then just get them in bed and then just pump them and dump them. And ideally, that's not the kind of guy you're trying to be. And again, if you're trying to be that kind of guy, at least be upfront with it with women. Like, hey, I just want a one night. I just want to have some fun and then kick it to the curb, because that's going to be more authentic and fair to them than trying to build up something to make them think you want them and then not. And I don't want you to be that kind of person, because it's almost like getting subconscious retaliation for all the women in your past that did bad things to you. And that's not fair to the woman that's in your present. So hopefully, guys, this conversation helps you out. For more of these shows, you can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com. Also, this show is about you guys. If you want me to answer any of your questions, you can write to me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com. If you're going through a situation where that's a little more personal and you want my one-on-one help, you can go to the website, click on the coaching tab, and set up a one-on-one phone consultation today. All right. Also, guys, I have a fun little project coming out with my buddy Nan Juan. It's called the No Girls For You music soundtrack. Yes, this is a music album with 10 songs on it that are just hilarious and full of Nan Juan going off about why his dating life is not that great. The first single from that, called Tongue Tied, is available to listen to now on my YouTube channel, so check that out. And be sure to get the album on Friday, February 10th. That's all I got. I'm Harry Wilmington, and I'll catch you guys on the next show. I'm out. Peace.
When I see a hot